It was the best of times. It was the most expensive of times. Yep, Nintendo did what we don't want, which is raise the price of their Switch systems. That just happened, effective today. But the real worry is that Nintendo says it may not stop there. Yep, the Switch 1 is more expensive now, but they say the Switch 2 consoles, the Switch 2 games, and the Nintendo Switch Online memberships could be price hiking in the near future, and that is something to worry about. So what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Nobody wants to pay more, so I'm going to break down this whole thing for you and explain what we're looking at, what happened today, what I think is going to happen in the future, and why this is nerve-wracking. But if you were paying attention to this channel and Nintendo for the last few months, you might have actually saved yourself a bunch of money. So let me know in the comments down below how you feel about price increases. Yeah, I know how it's going to go. Nobody likes this. Nobody should like this. It's bad. It's terrible. But let me tell you straight off the bat that many analysts have already reviewed this situation, and they're saying this is not Nintendo being greedy. This is not Nintendo wanting to just steal more money for you. This is our current administration in the US implementing tariffs, and there are reverberations and consequences to that. Most economists agreed that if tariffs, then higher prices for customers. The consumers are the ones that get this cost passed on to them, and that's being proven today as Nintendo has raised the price of the Switch 1, the OLED, the Lite, and some accessories. All right, so the Switch 1 is going up to $340 from $300. The Switch OLED is going all the way up to $400 from $350, which is crazy to me. $400 for the OLED is huge. The Switch Lite is $230, up from $200. The Nintendo alarm clock, Alarmo, nobody probably cares, is going up $10 to $110. And the Joy-Con 2, the Switch 2 Extra Joy-Con, are going up $5 from $95 to $100, a full Benjamin. Now the big one here is the Switch OLED. $400 for that is crazy. And look, I know Nintendo didn't want to do this, but I'm glad that they're going with the Switch 1 line first to try to make up some money there, as opposed to targeting the new system, the top seller, the Switch 2. This is not what Nintendo wants to do, but let's not pretend that they're dummies about it, right? They have a strategy here, and I believe the strategy is to incentivize the heck out of you to get their new console. Look, you can get a Switch OLED for $400, or you can get a Switch 2 for $450. New buyer, new Nintendo fan, mom and pop, what are you doing? You're buying the Switch 2. It's $50 more, and it's the brand new console, 8 years new. Like, come on, this is an easy choice to completely turn people away from the Switch 1 and move them to Switch 2, which benefits Nintendo because the Switch 2 is more expensive. The Switch 2 is their new ecosystem, and it gets a bigger pool of potential game buyers for what Nintendo is focusing on, which is the future and Switch 2 games. And look, if we actually really take a peek at the bundle, and you subtract out Mario Kart's price from the $500 Switch 2 bundle, say it's $80, that means that the Switch 2 is $420, and the Switch OLED is $400. So what are we doing here? Nobody should be buying a Switch OLED. Nobody. Get the Switch 2 bundle. It's a much better value, and the Switch 1 sales are going to taper off more than they have before. It's going to move people that may have considered a Switch 1 just to get their kiddo Mario Kart and Animal Crossing and Smash Bros. To just say, you know what, I'm going to pony up a little bit more for the Switch 2. This is way better value. But it's not going to stop there necessarily, because Nintendo, they're telling us that they might have to raise the price of the current system. And good on Nintendo for starting at this end, right? It seems like they're trying to exhaust all the options they have before they target the newfangled Switch 2. So they raised the price of Switch 1 in Canada. Now they're raising the price of Switch 1 and some accessories in North America. They're going to do Switch 2 next if they need to, and popular analyst Daniel Ahmad said he could definitely see Nintendo needing to do that. And Nintendo themselves has said this, which should have you a bit worried. Pricing for the Nintendo Switch 2 system, physical and digital Nintendo Switch 1 and Switch 2 games, as well as Nintendo Switch Online memberships will remain unchanged at this time. However, please note that price adjustments may be necessary in the future, and that is their free pass to eventually pass the price increase on to the current gen. But I think there's actually a silver lining here, something quite nice for you and I think I know what they're going to target first, and I think it's going to not be as bad as maybe you're panicking about right now. Like, nobody wants a price increase on anything, but like I told you back before the Switch 2 launched, buying a Switch 2 at launch was the best decision you could make. Look, this system is not getting any cheaper anytime soon. The freaking Switch 1 is more expensive now 8 years after it launched. The Switch 2 will not be getting a price decrease, a price cut, a sale I'd say within the next 5 years. If anything, that console is going to go up. It'll be the console that they target first, in my opinion. So that means if you already got a Switch 2, you're in a pretty good spot. That was, hey, your like early adopter prize was you get the Switch 2 at quite possibly the lowest price it'll be, maybe during its entire life cycle. Now that sucks for new buyers, but if you're thinking about it, it's easier for a new buyer to say, oh, $450 for the Switch 2 or an extra $20, like I really want this new system, I'm gonna grab it. And that would be opposed to them raising the price of the games, which is where they've seen the biggest pushback. If you think back to what caused the most problems at the Switch 2 launch, it was the $80 price point of Mario Kart World, which like, okay, they felt they could charge that. Still not really sure why they picked that. Still not really sure why DK Bonanza was $10 less when, in my opinion, that's a much more exciting Switch 2 game, a much more forward-thinking Switch 2 game, but okay. Regardless, raising the price of these games is going to be the biggest way to get them negative press and piss off the people that bought a Switch 2. If you don't raise the price of Switch 2 games, if you're already in, you feel okay. Like, yeah, prices might go up for the Joy-Con. You already got Joy-Con. Prices might go up for the Switch 2 console. You already got a Switch 2. I think that they're going to keep the games where they are because that's what they've received the most pushback on, and that's where they're the most competitive with other platforms. Can't have Nintendo raising the price of their games above the price point of the same title on a different platform. But they've got some wiggle room with the Switch 2 to bump that thing up price-wise if they need to. It's sold insane, over 6 million units. People are desperate to buy it. It's still selling out. Adding a $20 charge or a $10 charge or a $15 charge to that, while bad, is not as bad as them increasing the game prices. And if they don't increase the game prices, it's not a slap in the face to everybody that bought a Switch 2. They can really balance out the feels by keeping our Switch 2 games the same price. Now, after the Switch 2 console itself, I think what they might target is Nintendo Switch Online. The good news here is, if you're already a Switch Online member, your price would not increase until it renews. So great, if you're in for Mario Kart World, you're in a good spot. I think Nintendo does not want to raise the prices in a way that makes it feel like you're getting punished for getting in on the Switch 2 early, which is great. Again, they're smart about this. The Switch 2 could see an online price increase, as well as the Switch 1, for the following year or at a future date, in which case, going up from $20 and $50, I could see them going up to like $25, $30, and $60. The thing here is that Nintendo Switch Online has always been a pretty cheap service. Like, I know nobody wants to pay more for any subscription. You probably got a lot of subscriptions. You got a lot of bills. Money is tight. And so I know $5, $10 extra a month sucks. But I do believe that it won't be anywhere near that high. Nintendo Switch Online is the cheapest online service, and even if they boost their expansion pack offering from like 50 to 60 or even 65, that's still a pretty good deal. You're still paying a couple bucks a month. It's not a significant increase month over month, and you're getting access to more and more retro games than ever before. Hopefully you get access to some free DLC like they did with Animal Crossing and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe back on the Switch 1. Hopefully they continue to add games that appease both the base tier users and the expansion pack tier users. And if it wouldn't affect your membership until the following year, well, okay, we can push that out. I don't think this is going to be doom and gloom for current Switch 2 owners. I think Nintendo's actually going to prioritize you. And look, if they prove me wrong and do the opposite, I will take them to task. I will not say it's okay. I will not say it's not a big deal. They would then need to do some sort of make good like they did back in the era of the DS, where they were like, oh crap, we lowered the price and now you get all these Game Boy Advance games. Now, for some people that didn't really matter, but for a lot of people like myself, getting special Virtual Console GBA games was hella cool. That was so fun back on the Switch or the DS. And if they were going to do that with the Switch 2 to give us like some exclusives to make up for the price increase, okay. But I really don't think they're going to do that. I think it's going to be potential new buyers, people that waited to the holiday season, people that have to wait till 2026, people that don't even currently know the Switch 2 is a good thing that are going to be affected the most. And I do believe Nintendo will increase the price. I mean, they've tried the Switch 1 in Canada. They're now trying the Switch 1 in North America. I don't know that's going to be enough. Like I said, who is out there buying a $400 Switch OLED? Hopefully nobody. Don't buy that. Bad value, not good. It's a $50 price hike. And if the Switch 2 sees a similar $50 price hike and goes up to $500 with no game, you're probably going to feel pretty good about the price you paid. Look, games are so expensive nowadays, it sucks. Wish they were cheaper. Wish the consoles were cheaper. Wish there was an easier way. But this is not, in my opinion, Nintendo's fault. This is the fault of the economy. This is the fault of people not getting better wages. If you look back over the years, prices of goods have gone up, wages and earnings have not. That's a problem with our governments. It's a problem with our systems. It's a problem with our rich elites. It's a problem with billionaires. Nintendo, yes, is a billion-dollar company, but they are reacting to other factors. And if you want to blame Nintendo, go ahead. But I think the good news is if you have a Switch 2, you're probably not going to see or feel these changes. I don't think they will raise the price of their games. That would be a move that receives a lot of negative feedback. I'll ask you right now, if Nintendo raised the price of Switch 2 games to where every game was $80, how would you feel? Let me know in the comments down below and we'll see if I'm right about this. I think that would be absolute uproar. Drop the price would become a trending hashtag again, and Nintendo surely does not want that. So how do you feel about this price increase happening? How do you feel about Nintendo bumping the Switch 1 to where it's basically pointless to buy the Switch 1? You just should get the Switch 2, a $400 OLED. That's crazy talk, right? Nobody's doing that. Don't do that. Nobody should do that. Anyways, see y'all in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Love you lots. SwitchForce out.